Hello, I'm Mary Spicer, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Behind Fashion. In this unprecedented time, the fashion industry, like many industries, is in distress. Around the world, we have gathered together demanding racial and social justice, and no industry is exempt. The hard work must continue. I created this series so that we could support one another and discuss how to move forward in a thoughtful and collaborative manner. Over the next few weeks, I will introduce you to many people behind the scenes, from executive producers, directors, choreographers, to sound designers. With a virus that discourages the touching of clothing and the interaction of people, what does the future hold for the fashion industry, and how are our roles changing? I look forward to collaborating and sharing our ideas and journeys as we move forward together in this new fashion world. Today, it is my great pleasure to introduce all of you to Tyler Hayden. Tyler Hayden was raised in Littleton, Colorado. After high school and at just 18 years old, Tyler was scouted by an LA management company as an actor and a model. Wanting to stay in the creative arena, Tyler felt this was a good option for him and decided to see where it took him. Tyler was in LA for 3 years. During that time, his interests did switch to music, composition, performance, and recording. Back in Denver, Colorado, focusing on music. Tyler has a 10-year strong DJ dance party called Guilty Pleasures. And Tyler, I didn't know if you knew I'd find that. Is this the Guilty Pleasures that you spun at the Zeppelin station on August 1st?
Yeah, it's true. First actual live and in-person gig that we've had since COVID hit. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, how surreal.
We've been doing some streaming, to sort of keep up some sort of a fan base.
So when is your next gig? Is it going to be live streamed or?
Probably, most likely. We'll see. That gig at Zeppelin Station was nice. Everybody had masks on, social distancing. It was all outside on the patio, sort of like a makeshift patio, but.
Yeah, well, with a name like Guilty Pleasures, we've all got to go to that. You've also appeared in a short film that went around the film festivals called Ex Post Facto as the lead character. And you were the face for Mavi jeans on ads that populated MTV. In Colorado, you started a band called the Laylights. And I have a photo of you in the Laylights. There you are.
Ages ago.
Was that 2006?
Something like that, yeah.
But my favorite picture, this is from, I think it's Underground Music
Showcase
Festival, right?
Yeah.
2007. I love that picture. I mean, that is music. That is what's happening. And for viewers that would like to see a couple of Tyler's music videos, I do have them on my YouTube channel. The Sparrow by the Laylights from 2006 is on there. It's under a playlist. Now, after that, you joined a band called Astro Moveo. One of the members of that band created his own sound design company called Dynamite Laser Beam. And with your background and everything, you did go into Dynamite Laser Beam. You've written and recorded hundreds of songs for commercials and also for your own bands. And your latest band is called The Royals. And on that very same Facebook channel under the playlist, I have 2 of your videos as well. Creatures of the Night and Shapes. Those are the most current. In addition to co-writing songs and producing with other artists, you have a couple hush-hush projects that you are refusing to share with me. Of course you do. And you've created original music for companies like Colorado Tourism, the COVID ad, Warner Brothers, original music for WB Asia icons, bumper intros and outros, sound design for interactive digital movie campaigns, mnemonics for film production companies, gaming events like E3, MTV VMA Awards Show, 3D Dome experiences, Pepsi Art Dome at the Voodoo Fest, AR mobile apps as well. And clients that you have created music or sound design for include Nike, EA, Coke Zero, Maybelline New York, Victoria's Secret, Ironman, Audi, and VH1. Tyler is presently working with Rocky Mountain Recorders and owner Chris McNaughton, where they've worked with musicians like Rihanna, Deborah De La Torre, the Blind Boys of Alabama, Snoop Dogg, and the Lumineers. Welcome, Tyler. It's such a joy to have you on.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
And I know you have your mug because I dropped it off. And I'd like to cheers to you as people learn.
Cheers.
Cheers about you being the #1 sound guy in Colorado for fashion shows and events. And you have all these other side projects with EA and Nike. And that's fine. I guess I have to share. Now, before we start talking all things fashion, there is a pandemic. How are you and your family doing?
We're doing all right. We're hanging in there, I think, just like everybody else. It's been an interesting transition into this new sort of paradigm that we're living in. Yeah. But I think that I had it, pretty sure I had it back in February.
Okay.
I have a buddy who got tested for antibodies, and he was basically sick for a good 2 weeks. Got checked out by a couple of doctors. They had no idea like what was going on with him.
Right. That was right at the beginning. That was before anybody knew anything.
Yeah, exactly. So he got tested later, and he's like, "Hey, do you remember back in February when I was super sick? And then a week later you got sick and we're out for like a full week." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I got tested for COVID and for the antibodies, and I had it back then." So pretty dang sure that I had it. Yeah, very interesting stuff.
Thank goodness. Everybody's fine. You and your buddy are fine. You just knew that you were sick, and very lucky on that. This has been a very random situation. You're not sure if you're going to be asymptomatic or have flu-like symptoms or start getting the bigger pieces to that. So I am glad that everybody's fine.
Or odd things like COVID toe, which I had.
That's right. You did.
Yeah.
So what COVID toe is, it's a coagulation of the blood, right? And
sure.
So it's like bruising.
Yeah. And it was on one toe randomly. I've never had anything like that before. So I was like, what is this? Looked it up, and sure enough, COVID toe.
Wow. That's scary. Yeah. So it very easily could have been something else. What a random virus this is.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
It is bizarre, and I am glad that it wasn't any worse than that. As mentioned in the bio, you made a huge decision and went to LA for acting and modeling at just 18. Why did you leave LA after 3 years?
I mean, I had a great time and it was a great experience. And going out there, I really just wanted to, be creative and do art to some degree on some level. And acting for me was that to me at the time. I had a commercial and a theatrical agent and a management team behind me, and I was going out on auditions pretty nonstop.
Right.
That, and also trying to balance making a living while you're trying to walk in the door and get a few yeses from a casting director or producer. And after a while, I just got into music more than into acting. Yeah. And I got my first DAW or digital audio workstation or like audio software when I was like 15, even before I moved out to LA. So I've been working with music and kind of dabbling in music production, since I was 15. So moving out there, I just got further and further into music, and that became more rewarding than sort of the rat race of the film and television industry, and the gatekeepers that come with that. Like I really just wanted to create my own stories, and not have to get a bunch of yeses from anybody else. So just decided to come back to Denver and pursue music.
Well, and also though, not only were you acting, but you modeled for
Yeah.
Mavi Jeans, as I mentioned. And a lot of those ads were on MTV, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty funny. Did not expect to get something that was like that ran pretty nonstop, and having friends call me up and be like, "Oh, I saw you on TV like twice today."
But not only that, you did model also for American Crew. Now that's a hair product company,
Hmm.
but with these companies, there is a lifestyle that needs to be given out. It does include fashion and photo shoots, and I have a photo of you. Here we go. Look at, I love this photo shoot, honestly, and just the way that you're standing there, how fantastic. It just makes my eye, even though he's in the forefront, I immediately go over to this guy. What's this? This guy's great.
Yeah, that's actually my buddy James, front and center there.
Oh, hi,
Yeah,
James.
yeah.
So sorry, I looked right. But that actually is true in art. And we could have somebody come on and talk about how things, when they're off center, we tend to look over there.
That's true.
Um,
Yep, that's
But
true.
talking about fashion, when you came back, you had music, you had modeled,
Mm.
and you started an event called Fashion Musique in Denver.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, my partner at the time and I started that event, basically combining um, what we felt at the time as very important elements that were not really being recognized by the art community at the time, maybe, which was fashion and music. So uh, the event, majority of the events were in the art district off of Santa Fe here in Denver. Uh, and
Yep.
we basically would have bands or DJs and designers and performance artists uh, basically all show up at the same place. So we would put on these kind of crazy multimedia sort of events.
So in Denver, you know, it's B2C. It's a direct to consumer sale that's happening with fashion events. Did you find that that gave you more room for creativity and artistic expression in the way that that fashion is presented? Do you feel freer to make that available?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was also on a level where we felt like there weren't a lot of rules, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Wasn't that strict, but also looking back at it, it's like operating under that sort of ideology of like there aren't rules. We can create and we can you know evoke what we want from the audience. Um, we had this performance artist, our friend Damaris, at one point, basically like this phone book sort of, or not phone book, phone booth sort of structure, like white
Okay.
walls, three white walls, and then basically some plexiglass on the front. And during one of the fashion shows, she basically crawls in there and starts nailing cow hearts to each of the walls, and she's in a white dress, so that white dress after a while starts turning red and is dyed red by this blood.
Wow.
And at the end of it, she like dumps the rest of the bucket of blood that's left over from the cow hearts on her to basically create a red dress out of a white dress. A lot of like conceptual performance art. There was another one where she basically created this. She was a designer as well. Created this long dress that was interconnected between like 8 or 10 models,
Hmm.
and as each model would step up on a certain step on a runway, she would basically cut them out of this interconnected dress, and so each individual model would have a different sort of look. Um, and and then after everybody was cut out of their new dress or whatever, uh, you got to see how unique and individual each of them were, but they were just one to begin with. A lot of conceptual stuff like that. It was was a fun time.
Yeah.
If you
I
want more
think
examples
that's,
of what that was like,
well, and
I
for
could
me,
go
it
on.
evokes a lot of feelings of the Japanese designers where I have seen, actually at the Denver Art Museum, there was an exhibit that Florence Mueller did where the designer came out and there was a long strip of cloth and they actually cut the pieces out right there in front of the audience. It was part of the show. And then this made the creations, it would go in back and then the models would come out in the pieces. Um, it's truly amazing. But thinking about it, you know, the music is integral to all of this. Can you talk to me a little bit about the music impact on a fashion show, the impact that it has? Like,
Sure. Well, I mean, if you think about it like this, if fashion shows existed without music or sound, like accompanied by music or sound, uh, you could hear a pin drop in the room. How weird would that be?
right, right.
The models need a tempo to walk to.
Mm.
It gives it life, you know. Uh, I'll also talk about the music dictates emotion and feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're just selecting music that you like and you
Mm-hmm.
kind of want it and you like to hear it and that's in your show, fine. But there is a step further that you can take it, and it's about thinking of what do I want to evoke from an audience as far as getting them to feel something. And when they leave that experience of your show, uh, like you want them to be talking about it.
Right.
So how much deeper can you dive into the direction of the music and sort of the music supervision of the show and the sound design and creating peaks and valleys
Yes.
and really being as impactful as possible. I think that's the importance of it is leaving people with a feeling that maybe they won't forget for the rest of their lives, you know?
Right, right.
Um,
And it's a lifestyle, but also I mean, you're telling a story. You really have, as a sound designer, your work cut out for you.
mhm.
Because you know, when I think of like what you're talking about, I go to a concert and the musicians, if I wasn't buying the t-shirt on the way in, have about 2 to 3 hours to get me excited about their music and their band to buy the $30 to $50 t-shirt. But we in fashion, the sound designer, all of us have 12 to 14 minutes, start to finish, and our pieces are $500 to $5,000.
Right.
And today, a lot of people are voting with their money. So, is the brand about sustainability? Is it about social justice? Maybe just the brand itself and their general feeling is what I want to support. So I'm going to buy that clothing. And the sound that you, as the sound designer, have to bring must be on point with the brand and the messaging. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
could you explain to me what your process is when you're working with a brand?
Well, I think innately, if a brand has done their branding right, they 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 already come with a certain amount of uh, qualities or expectations that maybe the consumer or the viewer or the buyers
Mm-hmm.
kind of expect, right? So you kind of start there with this because music is branding as well. Brands are attached to certain genres of music or artists. Um, we know that, like Gucci and hip hop
Right.
right now. But I think as far as shows are concerned, and brands and designers put on these shows, it's really about like I said before, how can we make this impactful?
Right.
By the end of the show, I want people to walk away being wowed by it. Uh, so what music is going to create that? and is it on brand, and comes with the same messaging that that brand or designer wants to put out to the world for that show. I think
Well, like,
those are
so
the
let me put it
considerations.
this way.
Yeah.
If you have to explain to me what this fashion show meant, what the messaging was,
Mhm.
then we didn't do our job correctly, right?
Oh, if you
So,
yeah, if you have to think about it, or you're searching for it, then we didn't do our job. No,
right.
and it should feel cohesive with what we're seeing too, as far as the pieces, walking down the runway. Like everything has to be cohesive in just one statement.
Right. And there's peaks and valleys, and it isn't just push the button and play some song. In my world anyway, that just doesn't really cut it.
You have to curate it.
You have to curate it. It's a lot of work to look that natural. And I don't know if anybody else knows this. There are many studies out there that music changes how you taste things, how bright the colors are, and then your general feeling of warmth towards items, or whether you're eating something or looking at something. It really does change that and sway our vision.
Yeah, I mean, creating tension, uh,
Yes.
creating just a lush atmosphere where it feels like just pillowy, and you could just relax and like, you know, just it's like instant meditation, or it's uh, bombastic, I guess, where it's intense or
Right.
cacophonous, and there are all kinds of different colors
Mhm.
to sort of play with. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a fun part about it.
Well, when you were in the band, the Laylights, you made the music video called Sparrow. That impactful vision is so important. Do you think that your experience collaborating with the bands as an actor, as a model, you're seeing it from behind, you're seeing it from in front? Do you think that gives you more artistic overall vision for a fashion show where you can take it to that next level?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're only a product of our histories, and I think uh, my training as an actor, and also being on the model side of things. Uh, I, I mean, those experiences probably uh, have definitely gotten me to where I am now, and
Right.
they help in making decisions uh, about what music we're going to be using in a show, or what sound effects or what sound design we're going to be using in a show. Uh,
Right.
because yeah, I've been on a lot of sides of this for a while. Uh, so yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. Right now you're working at Rocky Mountain Recorders, or not right now, but because we've been talking about your past. What is happening for you guys during the pandemic? Are people still coming into the to record at the studio?
Yeah, we've had to change some technical considerations as far as recording and interacting with clients, and having clients still be able to chime in and direct during sessions. So we're doing a lot more remote sessions, which means whether it's over Zoom, or like Google Meet,
Mm-hmm.
or Google Hangouts, or Skype, we are able to connect talent. Like, say if talent is here, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
like a voiceover talent, they can be in the studio here, and then over those platforms like Skype or Zoom, we can connect client to talent to client, and basically have a virtual session. Uh,
So, like, you're talking to me right now, I
mm,
could be listening to what's going on there and giving my feedback instead of having to be in the room with you.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
and, and
Now,
and and even putting talent on camera, on video. So, and then having a screen in one of our live rooms, so the talent can actually see the client face to face.
oh,
over Zoom or something too. Some sort of.
Well, that's amazing. And that cuts down on people's travel time. That's a little bit more sustainable. So some things are coming up.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing about it is that a lot of these clients didn't know that we were capable of doing that. And now that they know that we're capable of doing that, there's no reason for them to come into the studio.
Yeah.
COVID or not, they're like, oh, I can stay at home in my pajamas and drink my coffee and just, say yes or no.
Right. Or even just not have to drive across the city. And you guys at Rocky Mountain Recorders, you do the majority of audio post-production work for the state of Colorado. Can you explain that to me?
Well, we work with some advertising clients that handle a lot of Colorado's media and marketing. So whether it's Great Outdoors Colorado or Colorado Tourism, they get all of that work. I mean, of course, the state isn't going to outsource to some ad agency that's outside of the state. So, and we are pretty much the go-to studio for audio post-production. So we get that work from those clients. So Colorado Tourism, we've done a lot of like Colorado Lottery.
Can you give me an example, like Colorado Tourism? What would you do for Colorado Tourism?
Well, the most recent thing is created an original piece of music. Is basically, it's not really a jingle, but it's an informative song to let people who are coming to visit Colorado, to let them know what we want them to do as far as making sure that if you visit Colorado, you're keeping us safe by doing these things, by wearing a mask, by social distancing. I can actually play it for you.
I was going to say, do you have that sound bite?
Give me 1 second. I'll pull it up.
Cool. I just have trouble imagining.
Yeah, I mean it's different to explain it than to hear it, but all right. Hopefully it's working here.
When visiting us in Colorado, here's a few things you should know. 5 steps will help protect us all, no matter where you go. Space! How about a ski between you and me? Mask! Keep one in your pocket in case you need to rock it. Clean! Wash your hands and be careful what you touch. Stay! Feeling sick, stay home, protect others, thanks a bunch. No! Follow the guidelines wherever you go. Stay up to date and in the know. These 5 steps are just a start to help us all do our part. Thanks for listening to our tips. We hope you all enjoy your trips.
Wow. So that's played on the tourism site?
It is. Yeah, there's a whole animated video. So.
Did you sing that song?
No, that's my buddy Micah. So he has also been the voice or like the lead vocalist on another song, and they basically created this like moose character that's like singing these. So if you go on the Colorado Tourism website, you'll see those videos and hear that song, and it's great to watch too, to just see the animation accompanied with the music. It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah. So there are companies that still need to produce, especially and or during COVID, especially during it, but there's also designers and I'm sure musicians that have content. They need to come out with it. The designers have clothing, but there's no live shows. So without live performances, we do have to get that visual content out to our audiences to showcase the new collections, or if you're a musician, new songs. Are you able to create that content for designers?
Yeah. I mean, I've done it before. It's not like the whole world has changed, and that kind of production didn't exist before. But I think that we're going to see a lot more of it, which is going to be interesting. How do designers, showcase their sort of like new campaigns or new releases, or like um, how do they stay public and forward facing that way? It's going to be interesting to see. But I've worked on videos like this before. Maybelline New York, which I could actually play for you. It's a campaign called No Maybes.
So anybody listening on the podcast, if you'd like to see the Maybelline video, No Maybes, I will also have that on my Facebook channel, YouTube channel.
Yeah, you can definitely look it up too on YouTube. Yeah, let me play it for you. But I think we're gonna end up seeing a lot more content like this. I think you sent me a couple of examples of kind of this sort of new paradigm of fashion shows. What was the piece that was on the subway?
Ooh, on the Moschino.
Yeah.
That was on the subway. That is fantastic. So they had one where it's just the 2 or 3 photographers getting those stills. Then you're also getting video. And then it was just a few people. It was before the start of COVID. So it was already going that way, knowing that we need to provide this content and a way to embargo what you are putting out as far as advertising. And it's just a more sustainable model. Yeah.
Well, so I guess so. Before I show this video, I guess. So the music that accompanies this particular campaign or this spot, as we call them, ads, it was thought about and curated specifically for this ad, and we're trying to create like a great, uplifting and powerful vibe from the music, along with we wanted to incorporate some bucket drums, so you felt like you were on the street, like in the streets of New York or Manhattan somewhere, maybe just right outside of a subway where someone's busking with some buckets and drumming. So you'll hear that in this piece too. So it's like those little things that you have to think about. How do we make it really feel a part of the visuals and where you are in that place and time, along with like what are the right background ambiences to put in, some taxis honking in the background or whatever, to really like get you in that scene and that visual and really connect everything. So I don't know. I'll play this for you.
We've all come face to face with doubt, eye to eye with uncertainty, one-on-one against ourselves. But today, there's no time for maybes. So let's put our best face forward. Let's be bold, cover up nothing, and show off everything. Act like no one ever said we can't. We won't apologize for being more. We'll be beautiful. We won't do it for them, or that job, or their expectations. We do it for this and this. We'll make it happen. There's no regrets, no apologies, and definitely no maybes.
Wow. That is a great example.
How was the sound on that? It kind of sounded
horrible. I'm on Zoom from my house. But it will be on my YouTube channel and you can hear it as viewers and listeners, you know, from there properly. But it gives me the idea of that messaging. It's beautiful. The music is supporting it. And unless you're Victor and Rolf, you're not going to do a voiceover. And I don't know if anybody knows what I'm referring to, but Paris Fashion Week, the couture had Victor and Rolf, and they did a very cheeky overlay, almost like it was the 50s. And here's Jennifer in a very wide dress that makes sure that people will stay 6 feet away. And that is also on the channel. So Tyler, you collaborate with everyone involved to make sure the message is clear and on brand. Where did you find the music for that Maybelline ad?
That was custom music that I worked on.
You worked on that? You made that?
Yeah.
This is why I love you. This is why for fashion, you know, we talk about things and you know, when it's a sound designer for Fashion Week, for fashion in Colorado, you're the guy to go to. You know, it's so important. You know, Florence Mueller that I had on here, she's the fashion curator with the Denver Art Museum, the Metropolitan Museum of Art with the costuming department, then the Met Gala. This is all a celebration of art, fashion as art, music is supporting it, fashion, music, and art all living together very comfortably.
Yes.
It's just so very important. And it is starting to move more into a film, but we've got to keep it fashion. So, you know, that's important to have that vision that it is still fashion. We are still talking about the clothing.
Yeah, but I mean, I think along with yes, it is fashion. It's also like very much about lifestyle and cultural. You know, that's what sells fashion too, is also having a sense of you know, there's a culture or a lifestyle that is associated with a certain brand or designer. And I think you know, that's also part of what I have to think about for my job is how can I support all of those encompassing things with, you know, on the music side or the sound side of things. I have, there's like an art film that I would love to share with you. Might take me a second to set it up.
Okay.
Maybe another example. We'll see how the audio is on Zoom, but give me just 1 second. Hopefully,
yeah.
Hopefully we don't have too much dead air here, but hold up.
Wow. Okay, so those listening, you heard good music. You want to see the rest. Tyler, is there a way I can get that onto my YouTube channel?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that was shot by my buddy Tony Fafala. He's a photographer, a videographer. Just creates art. Um,
That's
yeah,
exactly what we're talking about when you're
yeah,
looking at Paris Fashion Week, whether it's couture, resort, London Fashion Week. All of these designers are coming up with creative ways, and you do have the ability to have a little bit more of an artistic video, and then we kind of go in for shots of the clothing and things like that. I'll be working in New York soon for New York Fashion Week on that. And so I think that's incredible. That does show what is available to people to be able to do.
yeah. And my part of it is, making sure that the music connects with the visuals.
Oh, yeah, that's a small part, huh?
It's a small part. Well, I mean, it's just like I said before. Just imagine a show without music or sound design, like how dull it would be. Imagine that piece that I just showed without the music, or I'm not trying to like.
Or with the wrong music,
Oh yeah,
if it's I can't even imagine what the wrong, because it was such perfect music for that. But when you have the wrong music, you kind of know it's just not really connecting with the viewer. Yeah.
it's such an afterthought for a lot of producers and directors. Uh,
Mm.
you know, they just throw
It's a
some.
missed opportunity. Anybody that
Yeah,
loves Quentin Tarantino knows it's important. The music is important. It's setting the mood. It's telling you what's happening. It's on branding, if you will. So yeah, it's to say it's important is almost an understatement. It really is a very large part of it.
well,
So thank you so much for showing us all of that.
yeah. I mean, I think we're gonna see more and more content like that
Oh, we have to, yeah.
as the industry moves forward, because you know how else will they do it? you
Oh,
know.
well, with budgets and with social distancing, it is going to be a while. And I think this is where it was going anyway. The pandemic has just pushed it to the forefront much faster. We all know that it can't replace a live show. And while you do the music for live shows, this also is great supplementary as well. And I think it's going to be both of those at the end. It's going to be the joining of everything. Now, how has Rocky Mountain Recorders adapted to respond to this pandemic? How are you guys doing over there?
You know, we're doing all right. Business died down for a bit, but every industry had quite the lull. In the first few months after COVID kind of hit here, but we're picking back up because brands are having to change their messaging, which regarding the pandemic. So we're getting some work from that. Musicians are still making music. We're still here, working with them, and we'll stay afloat. We'll survive. We're like a cockroach in the apocalypse.
Well, Tyler, I look forward to working with you again very soon, and it may be in more of a fashion film sort of light there. And I know that you guys are the #1 sound company to work with for the fashion industry in Colorado, and I truly appreciate you taking the time to speak with us on the show today.
Well, thanks. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, I hope to work with you sooner than later.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you all for attending this week's Behind Fashion series with guest Tyler Hayden. You can find him on Facebook and Instagram. They're both Rocky MTN Recorders. The website is www.rockyrecorders.com. Next Wednesday, I will go behind fashion with Liberian-born fashion designer Kato Momolu. Kato collaborated with Women Grow in the fall of 2019, an organization focused on female leadership in the cannabis industry, creating the Kato Momolu for Women Grow line presented at New York Fashion Week for Spring Summer 20. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Behind Fashion with Mary Spicer. If you prefer podcasts, Behind Fashion is on Google, Apple, iHeart, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Stitch. See you all Wednesday, August 19th, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, noon on the East Coast, 9 a.m. on the West Coast, and 5 p.m. British Summer Time. All the best to you and yours.